Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey, busy one again. I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Bill Burr on his podcast addressed his appearance at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. He did this about 17 minutes into his podcast after talking about football. I have made many edits here, mainly to get rid of F-bombs. Bill's one of those guys that can't get through an effing sentence without, F and cursing and F and an F, and I just don't want to play all the F-bombs. I know I've been letting the swear words go this week because I'm trying to capture the emotions of the comedians involved in all this, but I don't want to play just a million F-bombs when he's just using them as adjectives. I did leave in an S word. Here's Bill Burr.
And my whole idea of Saudi Arabia is what I've seen on the news. I literally think I'm going to land, and everybody's going to be screaming, "Death to America!" And they're going to have machetes and want to chop my head off, right? Because this is what I've been fed about that part of the world, right? And we're flying over it. It's nothing but these long roads and sand. It's nothing. And everybody's just regular. They're dressed different, but they're regular. I go down to do the show, right? And they say, all right, the front 2 rows is going to be all diplomats in these padded seats. And then up top, the royals are going to be there. And it was in the round and everything. And everyone was ridiculously excited that there was going to be stand-up comedy there. And this is what's amazing about the arts and stand-up comedy is comedians have always pushed the boundaries. And this was a classic case. I guess this is tipping the cap to the people that set up the festival over there. When they first went to set it up over there, the rules on what they had about what you could say and what you couldn't say in Saudi Arabia, the people running the festivals will be all right, well, man, that's game, set, match. If this is all you can talk about and you want some good comedians, this isn't going to work. And then to their credit, they said, all right, what do we got to do? And they just negotiated it all the way down to you can talk about anything, other than a couple things, which was basically, religion, don't make fun of the royals. And other than that, it was everything was open.
In this next clip, Bill discusses what it was like to actually be on the stage. Again, I've made many edits for F words and some for pacing.
The people, okay, they want a show. You could feel it. I was talking to the other comics. You could feel it. They wanted you to push, right? It was really exciting. So I go up on stage and I start doing my shit and they're into it. Everything's going good. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm checking out the diplomats as I'm doing this stuff, and they're all laughing. All right, so I'm going to push a little farther. And all of a sudden, I start getting in the zone. Well, Billy's feeling loose up there. And my brain just goes, gay Jim. And then the other part of my brain goes, don't do that. And then I said, I'm going to do it. So I started doing the joke, and it murdered. It murdered. They all loved it. And at that point, I was just I'm just doing my act. So I did my act. Did the whole thing, and I had to stop a couple times during the show. I was going I'll be honest with you guys, I cannot believe any of you have any idea who I am. This is really amazing, and it was just this great exchange of energy, right?
And one more clip from Bill. Here's his final takeaway of the entire experience.
Thank you to everyone in Riyadh that came out. I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I could not have a better time doing shows for you guys. And it was great to experience that part of the world and to be a part of the first comedy festival over there in Saudi Arabia. I think it's going to lead to a lot of positive things. So there you go. That's that.
Oh, wait. I do have one more clip from Bill. Now, this one is edited because I took the timestamp and attached it to the rest of the comments, but I thought you might find this clip from Bill Burr kind of interesting.
Hey, what's going on? It's Bill Burr, and it's time for the Monday Morning Podcast for Monday, June 13th, 2016. All right, just a question. When will you come to Saudi Arabia or Dubai or Kuwait? I don't know, when they like us. I'm not going over there and getting kidnapped and getting my head sawed off on YouTube. Hey, it's Bill Burr, just checking in on you. And they, you'd have to say something. Nah, you couldn't, because then you'd worry that they'd do something even worse to you. I wait till right as they got through the jugular. Oh man, I would do a quick little Philly set on just say everything that would piss him off, which I would say. Would I? No. You know what? I'd be rocking and crying. Like, I know that doesn't happen in Saudi Arabia, but if you steal something in Saudi Arabia, they chop your arm off. I don't need that pressure.
Tonight at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, comedy legend Chris Tucker takes the stage with his trademark energy and razor-sharp humor. Also, Jeff Ross, that's right, the Roast Master General, brings his razor-sharp wit to the Riyadh Comedy Festival. He turns quick observations into precision burns. Expect playful audience interaction, brilliant riffs on culture, be careful, Jeff, and spontaneous moments, be careful, Jeff, that make each show feel one of a kind. Russell Peters in town at the Riyadh Comedy Festival for 3 shows, not 1, not 2. Russell Peters doing 3 shows. Known for his lightning-fast, sharp timing, and hilarious audience interactions, Russell's show promises an unfiltered evening. It does? An unfiltered evening of observational comedy, sharp improvisation, and riotous audience interaction. It's a big night at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Zarna Garg is there. Now, if you're not familiar with Zarna Garg, she fled India at age 14 to avoid an arranged marriage. She came here to the United States, where, of course, women have rights, and tonight she's at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Her material draws from her Indian heritage, immigrant experience, and motherhood. The Guardian has reported that Nimesh Patel, remember that Instagram story that I played yesterday? He's pulled it down. Well, you know what, Nimesh? I still have it. Let's listen to a clip of it.
No, I'm not attending. I just figured, you know what? I'll just do 40 shows that I had not planned on doing here in the perfectly clean, moral, above everyone else, United States of America. I'm tired just thinking about it, to make up for the lost bag. So that's what I'll do. I'm going to do 40 shows that I had not planned on doing, that haven't even been launched yet, that we're now trying to figure out between now and the end of the year, to make up for the lost bag before my theater tour kicks off.
The Guardian did not pull any punches writing about this thing. They called out everybody. It's glorious. I shared it in the Facebook group, which is Daily Comedy News Podcast Group, which has been very active this week. I love you all participating in that. Feel encouraged to join us. You will be asked a couple trick questions to make sure that you're not a porn bot. We don't want any porn bots in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. But if you're an active member, come on by and start some conversations. We've had some pretty good ones this week about this topic. Anyway, The Guardian wrote, over the years, Andrew Schultz has joked about the Khashoggi murder and Saudi connections to 9/11. He's tweeted that Saudi people are begging for help from a tyrannical regime of sexism, racism, and homophobia, and argued that the country exists because we allow them to exist in order to give us bleeping gas. Andrew will be performing at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. The Guardian also called out Jessica Curson, one of 2 women on the festival's lineup. Jessica wasn't speaking specifically about this situation, but they quoted her speaking about the plight of female comedians in the Middle East in the past. Jessica Curson said, "They're not allowed to talk about the government or the royal family, or they're not allowed to curse or talk about sex. We are so privileged here, presumably the United States." The Guardian continues, even if the bigger names on the bill were offered huge sums, none of them are hard up for cash. Chappelle, Hart, Burr, Coy, and Gabriel Iglesias, I'm not sure why Gabe got both names and Coy got one, but whatever, are multimillionaires who sell hundreds of thousands of tickets playing big venues across the globe. Louis C.K.'s income may have taken a dent in recent years, but an invoice sent to his promoter, obtained via public records request, appears to show that he grossed more than $300,000 over a weekend in Seattle this past July. Similar records appear to show that in 2019, Pete Davidson, who's at the Riyadh Comedy Festival tomorrow, earned $100,000 for a gig at Florida State University. In 2023, Pete Davidson grossed more than $130,000 over a weekend in Buffalo. Again, Pete will be at the Riyadh Comedy Festival tomorrow. Oh, The Guardian wasn't done. They point out in an August episode of the podcast We Might Be Drunk, Jessica Curson chatted with hosts Mark Norman and Sam Morrell about the Riyadh Comedy Festival. At that point, The Guardian believes Jessica hadn't yet been booked, but she indicated she'd be into performing in the region. Sam Morrell points out she's a gay Jewish woman. Jessica said, "I wouldn't do any gay material there at all," and adds she would steer clear of Jewish material too. However, she was into how well the kingdom treats its guests, saying, "You get treated like gold. It's 5-star crazy treatment, hotels and car service and food, and they really take care of you." Gianmarco Cerezi was on CNN with Jake Tapper. Gianmarco addressed the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which he is not part of.
I think those comedians that performed, next time they get asked who their favorite comedian is, they should stop saying George Carlin, because I think comedy has ridden off the name of speaking truth to power. And these comedians are allowing their images and their reputation and, frankly, the brand of American stand-up comedy to be exploited for propaganda. It's embarrassing how many of these comedians, that many of which are incredible joke writers, are willing to agree to the requirements for this festival, who are willing to slap their face onto the flyer. And it's embarrassing for the art form.
CNN's Jake Tapper wasn't familiar with some of the contracts. Here, Gianmarco explains what Atsuko Akatsuka had shared with everyone.
Yeah, I think it's worse because, I think there's lines. Listen, if you have some kids you're trying to put through school, maybe a little bit less, but some of these comics, they got nothing to support at home. They got brand deals. They're making millions. They don't need to do this. Maybe they're in it for the adventure. And I say, if you're in it for the adventure, why don't you produce a local show there without the requirements? I think it's embarrassing to go on stage and tell jokes that if some of the audience members tweeted from their own personal accounts could lead to them being executed. I think that's embarrassing. I think we need to bring back some shame.
What are the requirements you're talking about? Because I haven't seen any of the contracts or anything.
Sure. Atsuko Akatsuka, a phenomenal comedian who turned down the festival, posted them. I can read them for you. They're quite long, so feel free to cut me off.
Well, just give me the highlights.
Shall not prepare or perform any. Sure. You shall not bring into disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule A, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, including its leadership, public figures, culture, or people. B, the Saudi royal family, legal system, or government. And C, any religion, religious tradition, figure, or religious practice.
Wow. I mean,
that's a long list.
That's a pretty big list for a regime that kills gay people and kills journalists. And I mean, we all know what they did with Jamal Khashoggi, who was an American resident and Washington Post columnist.
And Gianmarco Ceresi discussed how it kind of matters who's paying for the show.
The United States, we have our own fair share of moral atrocities, but I don't know that you really can compare us to the Saudis. What do you think?
Well, however you want to compare it, it depends on who's paying you. I would be critical if the Trump inauguration featured Mr. Bean. I would say, well, why are you taking money directly from a government figure? I think that changes it. Of course, no country has zero blood on their hands, but taking money from a politician enters you into the realm of propaganda. And I think to be used in the way that all these comedians are is a different moral thing. I was in Buffalo this past weekend. The taxpayers in America did not pay for me to go to Buffalo. Now, if they did, if Trump had sent me to Buffalo, I do think if I were to participate and take that money, I would at least have responsibility towards comedy to criticize the Trump administration or Israel, or really speak my mind on things that I think deserve criticism.
Gianmarco Ceresi's debut special, Thief of Joy, is out now on YouTube.
In other news, Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert went on each other's show. During that appearance, Colbert revealed how he found out about Jimmy's suspension. There's a clip from the night this all happened. Colbert is handed a phone while sitting at his own desk. He stares at the message for a long moment. He puts his feet up on the desk and continues to read. Okay, Jimmy Kimmel's show has been pulled indefinitely by ABC. Colbert tells his studio audience, wow, hold on 1 second, I'm going to go find out what this is about, and walks off stage. Colbert explained to Kimmel, the text didn't tell me why you'd been suspended. There was no rationale given, just that you'd been yanked. He then jokingly added, I generally assumed it was your fault. I know you well enough to know that. Colbert explained how he found out about his own show ending. He got a call from his manager, James Baby Doll Dixon. Dixon said, hey, I need to talk to you for 15 minutes after the show. Colbert's like, wow, 5 minutes on the phone with Baby Dolls is like an hour. So 15 minutes in person? What the hell's this about? So I said to my wife, hey, I'll be home a bit later. I got to talk to Baby for 15 minutes. I come home 2.5 hours later and I walk in and she goes, what happened? Did you get canceled? And I said, yes, I did. Kimmel said that Dixon knew the show was ending for a week, but didn't want to upset Colbert while he was on vacation. Colbert said he originally didn't want to tell the staff until after summer break, but his wife came with him to work the next day. She knew he wouldn't be able to hold back the news. Colbert explained, by the time I got to my offices, I've sweat through my shirt because I didn't want to know anything my staff didn't know. I said, I'm going to tell my staff today, but then we couldn't do a show if I told them because then everybody would be bummed out and I'd be bummed out. So Colbert did the show and then told the audience to stay put. Then they recorded that new top. Colbert explains, my stage manager goes, oh no, we're done, Steve. And I said, nope, there's one more act of the show. Please don't let the audience leave. And he goes, no, boss, I got to run the show here and we're done everything. And I said, I'm aware of that. And I'm here to tell you there's one more act of the show. So I went backstage and I said to the crew, everyone get on Zoom. I told everybody as briefly as I could so they wouldn't find out about it on air. Boy, that's tough. That is tough, Stephen. And then I went back out on stage to tell the audience on camera. I was so nervous about doing it right because there was nothing in the prompter. I was just speaking off the cuff. I had to restart twice and the audience thought it was a bit and started chanting, you can do it, because I always messed up on the sentence where I told them it was happening. Kimmel described how he found out about his own suspension. He said it was about 3. We tape our show at 4:30. I'm in my office typing away as I usually do. I get a phone call. It's ABC. They say they want to talk to me. This is unusual. He went to the bathroom to find a private space. I'm on the phone with ABC executives, and they say, listen, we want to take the temperature down. We're concerned about what you're going to say tonight. We decided the best route is to take the show off the air tonight. Kimmel went back to his office and told his producers, I thought it was over. I'm never coming back on the air. Kimmel shared how he found out about Colbert's story. Kimmel was at the No Kings protest march with his family and said, I was absolutely shocked. It's not right. Colbert said, it's nice of you to say. It's their ball. They can take it home if they want. Kimmel said, they don't have any balls, Stephen. Let's be honest. Nice setup and punch there. Seth Meyers also stopped by the taping. Late Nighter explained they did adjust the taping of the various shows. Colbert had the option to slide his start time back if Kimmel got delayed. They did run into an ambient electronic tone that interrupted the Colbert interview enough to stop the taping. In the end, everything was okay. Okay, I've got more news for you. Mark Maron, I mentioned yesterday about the Judd Apatow clip show episode. I actually was in the car and had some free time. Well, it wasn't free time. I had to drive to a doctor's appointment, but that's what passes for free time lately. Anyway, I got to listen to the Maron episode. It's really good. Judd brought a bunch of clips that he was into and played them for Mark Maron, who reacted to them, and I really enjoyed that episode, so check that out. And John Mulaney in the news. He has partnered with Years, a non-alcoholic beer brewed in the Midwest. Together, they kicked off Sober October by announcing that John Mulaney has officially partnered with the brand. That's right, added to the legion of cool comedians that we're celebrating this week. Inspired by his own journey and his love for the non-alcoholic beer, John Mulaney brings his signature humor and authenticity to Years at a pivotal moment of growth and expansion. We're told via press release, Mulaney's connection to the brand started simply. He got a sample from friends, tried it and loved it, and began drinking it regularly, even sharing it on the set. That genuine enthusiasm made him a true partner, not just a spokesperson. We even get a quote from John Mulaney. Years actually tastes like beer, which is a relief because that's kind of the point. Years feels like a beer you reach for in a cooler in a driveway, watching someone who won't get a gas grill try to light the coals. Like me, it's completely and totally Midwestern, but might appeal to a fancy city crowd. Simply put, Years feels like the first beer you've ever had. It's authentic, and authenticity takes years. No song today, but on Gossip Corner, Rob Schneider was spotted at 2 restaurants in Sioux Falls. One of these places is called Chef Lance's on Phillips. And on Facebook, Chef Lance's on Phillips posted last Friday night, Rob Schneider and 6 of his friends tried to walk in and eat at Chef Lance's on Phillips. He didn't make a reservation, and we were completely full. Sadly, we had to send him over to see our good friends at Ironwood Steakhouse. Luckily, they were able to accommodate his group. The moral of this story is, even if you're Rob Schneider, if you don't have a reservation on a Friday or Saturday night, you're likely not getting a table. Boy, that's some flex. They're making a Simpsons movie. Johnny Mac, why? I don't know, dear listener. I can't explain this either. People aren't going to the theater. You want me to go to the theaters to see The Simpsons 2? When I can sit home? First of all, I've got like the first 7 seasons on DVD up in the DVD closet from that was a thing. Now, I can't stream them because we all canceled Disney Plus, right? You don't have Disney Plus, do you? Listen, you better not have Disney Plus. If I come to your house and you have Disney Plus and you're supporting fascism, and you're watching Simpsons episodes, maybe that's why we have to go to the theater, right? Because we all love The Simpsons, but we don't want to support Disney Plus. But we'll go to the theater, and Disney will get our money anyway. No, that doesn't work. Look, we're not going to see The Simpsons 2 in the theaters, okay? Now, it doesn't come out until July 23rd, 2027. A lot could happen by then. We could have no late night shows. There could be 7 new ones. Who even knows what will happen? But your question to me is, why are they making a Simpsons movie? And my answer is, I don't know. Now, if we weren't all boycotting Disney Plus, we could all sit home and watch 35 seasons of The Simpsons at home. Or we could go to the theater and spend $20 to watch The Simpsons. I can't explain it, but luckily we're all boycotting Disney, Hulu, Disney Plus, and everything. Or you do support fascism. Kevin Hart, he's going to be at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. He's working with Drewski on a new film titled Live Stream from Hell. Hart explains that his friends are going to be movie stars. You know what's the best way to show it? It's to do something with them. When we put something together, we'll drop a teaser. We're not done yet. We're going to show the world what we're working on. We're getting a little long here. Let's see. What do I need to tell you about today? I need to tell you about Ian Bagg versus the government. That's on the 800-Pound Gorilla YouTube channel. Oh, I left myself a note out today. Don't bump. Okay, I have to tell you about a new podcast that teaches British comedy to Americans. This one is called All British Comedy Explained. We're told this is a podcast for anyone who loves to listen to the history of British TV and laugh along, etc., etc. The theme of the first season is landmarks. They are Monty Python's Flying Circus, The Young Ones, not only but also The Goon Show, Victoria was seen on TV, The Office, the British one, The Day Today, and I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue. So that's out today. It is called All British Comedy Explained. I've got a story about Jay Leno. I'm not talking about that guy today. I got way too much. Probably commented on late night or something, but I'll get to that over the weekend, that guy. All right, that's enough for today. That's your comedy news. Appreciate you all. A lot of new listeners. The numbers are seriously up by 1/3. And that's not just downloads because I put out 1 million episodes. That's like new people listening. So welcome aboard. Thank you. I think the show's been really good the last 2 weeks. I feel like I've had my fastball. It will calm down. It will be quiet. Candidly, I already recorded Columbus Day weekend because I've taken a couple days off there. So, those episodes aren't Johnny Mac throwing heat. They're perfectly fine episodes. Sometimes you get a perfectly fine episode, especially on a weekend. I'm not going to BS you. Sometimes I do other things. So Columbus Day weekend, I'm going to do something else. But in the meantime, I can tell you tomorrow is going to be really good because among other topics we'll be getting into are Pete Davidson, whose father was killed in 9/11, and he's performing at the Riyadh Comedy Festival. So if nothing else, I'll probably comment about that. See you tomorrow.